Hey, how you doing?
Hey, doing good.
Great.
All right.
Good.
You're making a little bit of a special show. We have one of our original members who played with us in 1980, Steve Scales, who was
Oh, wow.
sitting in with us tonight. I don't know what he's going to sit in. Maybe, probably a chair, I guess. He's about as old as I am. So what we do on this thing is we ask you to ask us questions and take it from there. So hands up whenever you're ready.
Yes. Mine's directed to you, Adrian. You played with so many talented folks in your career. Is there anybody that you really wanted to play with that didn't happen yet?
Well, I always say this, you know, I think the people that really meant the most to me were when I was young. People I learned from, influenced me, the Beatles, those kinds of people. So they're all pretty much dead, so I'm not in a hurry to play with them. Other than that, nobody else I can think of now. I did most everything that I wanted. So I'd still make tea for Paul McCartney if he wants. Okay, how about you?
When am I going to see you again with Rob, Bob, and Chris on tour? Please.
Heaven, maybe? Heaven? We get there, all of us?
You gotta take a trip to Cincinnati, man.
I would do that.
You know, every year we actually have talked about trying to put something together on New Year's Eve, one big event, and get hotels for everybody with a cheaper rate and everything and do it, but we remember to start planning it around December 22nd. So it never really... One year, I promise. Really.
I only got to see the Bears 6 times, man.
Yeah, only 6 times? Wow, that's more than I never had to. Yes, go ahead. Jerry, yes.
I was actually told you about Mr. Worrell. I was lucky enough to see the Casual Gods show up in New York at 88 or 87, and I was shocked that he was there. I mean, his sounds, is there a funny thought that sticks out in your mind about that man? Because he was just unearthly.
Well, yeah, I'd love to, like, go, his teeth would start to fly out. And he was, so that was one of his things. He also had this ability, I learned a lot from him from playing very quiet, like very gently. But he literally could go up behind anybody, even a stranger, and start lightly massaging them, and almost everyone would go like, oh God, it's like really good. And it, like, not like, who the fuck is touching me? Or anything like that. He had a special presence, and of course he was an amazing musician.
Thank you.
Following on from Bernie, we saw him here in Asheville opening, he was part of the band with some country band.
Which country?
and he made that show magic somehow. I had that huge organ for him.
He did have a huge organ, as I remember. Yeah. Sorry, I had to do that. I'm so sorry. I'm crass today.
My question, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I think I read somewhere that you actually started recording Red and Black before Remain in Life.
I wrote the songs before that, and then we recorded it after that. And Adrian was there, and Bernie, and Steve Scales is playing with us tonight. Wonderful band. Anyway.
Thank you for coming to Asheville. Good to have you. So you're one of those guys that are always in the conversation of expanding the sonic power of what guitar can be.
Okay.
So, and you know, I know about your influences. Who are some of the guys behind you, younger guys, that are continuing that tradition of expanding the sound? I know you're an early adopter of Guitar Sense. Who are the younger guys that you think are continuing that?
You know, everybody asks me these questions about who I listen to now and who I know about. I'm the last person in the world to answer that question, because I stopped listening to most things years and years ago, because I honestly just have so much going on in my head every day, and I'm working on things and I'm doing things. It kind of interrupts me. So I'm still wondering who the band Queen is. What's their song? I don't even know. I'm serious, I don't know anybody. But I'm sure there are great ones out there. Last night I was talking to Sean Lennon's wife or girlfriend. Yeah. And she was talking to me about all kinds of wild guitar stuff I'd never even heard of. And I thought, well, it's good to know that there's somebody still moving forward. So I know they're out there. I wish they'd give me a call so I know what to look for. But I just can't follow it all. It's just too much to do with all this other stuff. I'm always writing, I'm always playing, traveling, so had to drop something. I dropped music.
Plus someone over here.
How did this reunion come to happen 40 plus years later?
Well, you know, Jerry and I have seen each other, kept our friendship going over the years. Many times we've met up in different places at different things, and sooner or later the conversation would always come around to, wow, wasn't that great, that 1980 tour? And you could see it online at YouTube with Live in Rome, that show in particular. And we'd always say, God, we just got to figure out how to do that. So we tried to figure out something for 2020, which would have been the 40th anniversary of that record, Remain Light, and that tour. And lo and behold, something called COVID showed up. Meanwhile, right around that time, Jerry produced a couple songs for a band called Turquoise, and that band had actually started themselves 10 years earlier because they loved Talking Heads, and in particular they loved Stop Making Sense, and they sort of modeled themselves. So Jerry said, called me and said, I think I found the answer. There's this band I just produced, and we could just join their band, and we'd have everything we need, except a percussionist. We had to bring a percussionist in. So they just so happened to come to Nashville, where I live, and so Jerry flew in, and I went to see them. And third song in, I said, it's perfect. Let's do it. And we had that. We started, and it's pretty much the same band you see us with now. Two of the members left, internal problems that we didn't know about, but that's all solved. And so we replaced the bass player with my bass player, Julie Slick, who was perfect because she was already in a band, not that she couldn't have learned the material quickly anyway, she was already in a band from Pennsylvania that does really well doing shows every week or so, called Start Making Sense. So I called Julie and she said, I know every one of those songs already. And I said, well, you know more than I do then. Let's go. So we started out and we started doing festivals, and that was good, except that you only get to play like once every month for 6 weeks, and you don't have time to rehearse between, so you just show up and play, which we really did well. I was impressed that everybody would just show up and play. Then we turned around and said, well, what would you like to take an 11-piece band on tour every day? I can tell you it's been a blast, but also, the band is just totally meshed together. I'm so happy. I will tell you this, our saxophone player and one of our singers, Josh, has come down ill. He won't be with us tonight. We'll cover for him anyway, but you'll be missing one little element of the 11-piece band. But we're bringing Steve Scales on, so there'll be 13 people in the band. Is that Steve Scales?
There's Steve and then there's Scales.
Steve
Triple Scales.
We caught one of those shows in Milwaukee with Turquoise 2 summers ago. That was an outstanding lineup.
It still
is, and in fact, as I say, like last year we did 5 shows, and this show we did 5 shows in 5 days.
Yeah.
So it's really
it changes everything.
It's
quickly.
just made us so tight and so sort of lots of little subtleties that get worked out when you can play it every night. It's been great.
The other wonderful thing about this lineup, you have 11 people. This rarely happens. There's no drama, no ego in this band at all. It's just not there. So we can all just relax and just enjoy the shows, and it's really a lot of fun that way.
Unlike King Crimson, huh?
Oh, I wouldn't say King Crimson had any drama. And I'd be a liar. I mean, sometimes drama feeds a band, whatever people think, me and Robert got along great. Him and Bill, not so much, but Tony gets along with everybody. But it was more that the music was tough. It's a tough band to be in. Hardest thing for me was just writing the stuff. I get along with anyone. So.
Any significance between orange and kind of yellow socks?
I'm a painter, as you may know, and I'm colorblind. So I have no idea what my paintings look like. So if you guys ever see anything, you can please excuse me. No, I thought it's easy if you tour. This is true with colorblind, but I'm always trying to match socks and match. I just thought, I'm just gonna throw a bunch of colored socks in, and every day I'll just grab 2. It's so much easier. I don't have to worry about it.
He's got another pair just like that.
I'm sure.
Good question.
So, are you guys having enough fun to work beyond this tour, either on new material or more material?
I tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to see this band go now out of the U.S., which has been kind of rare since COVID. I think we do so well in places like Europe or South America or Japan, places that we did before and I used to do every year. I don't know if that's possible economically and otherwise, but that would be my first target if we were capable of doing that. In terms of doing new music, we haven't even thought about it. We haven't gotten that far. We're just, we're still doing what we're doing and happy to be on tour.
If you have 11 musicians, somebody's got a new song someplace.
Oh, it's not new songs. I got plenty of those myself. I'm sure Jerry does, and maybe other people in the band. It's more just the logistics of it, and whenever you're going to do a record, you need to know you've got the place, the time, the funding, and the material and so forth. So it's bigger than just, hey, let's just do this, So we'll see. I don't know. I'm one of those people. I like to just think about what I got and be doing it. That's how I move from one thing to another. Yes.
Question. Did either one of you dig out any of your old equipment or strings or pedals or whatever that you would have used when you recorded the Remain in Light album to get those same sounds on the stage now?
One of the happy accidents that happened is Sequential Circus, Dave Smith's instruments, who had released the original Prophet 5, which is what I played and what Bernie played during the 1980 tour, and the rest of them. Because we were delayed from 2020 to 2021, he re-released the Prophet 5, like a remake of it. And in fact, they were able to take the old FSK type of, like it goes, like a fax machine, and put it into the new instrument and get some of my old sounds. I had to make some adjustments.
That's why they sounded so good.
Yeah, and so it was really great because the newer, he had something that was close, but it wasn't the same, and this was much, much closer. So that really helped create an authenticity of like, wow. And I still have the old instruments, but they wouldn't last more than 1 or 2 shows.
Okay.
I have all my old stuff, but I just didn't have time and couldn't make the effort. I really wanted to bring my old Strat. I have everything. It's all in storage. Some of it's in my studio closet. I can actually reach for it. I can get some of those same effect boxes and things. Still have the same Jazz Chorus amps, but I just felt like that's asking a bit much.
Okay.
Because I like what I'm doing now anyway, and I can do things now that I couldn't do then. So
Okay.
I think it equals out. But there are a few things that are in that period of music that I wish I could emulate, but I can't now. But I hope you don't mind.
I have this awesome single, 5 Minutes.
Yes.
Where you worked with Bootsy and the Ronald Reagan soundbite. Do you have any stories from recording that, or
Well,
any memories?
Well, I got the tape from the Mondale campaign. I got a couple of versions, but theirs was the clearest. And, there was this hurry to do it before the election. And the funny thing is I was working with this engineer who worked with Steely Dan, and he goes, "You should get Bootsy to play this." Okay, well, but I'd done almost everything. And then I called up Bernie, gave me Bootsy's manager, and he goes, "Bootsy's addressing the House of Representatives today."
Boy, are we in trouble.
I'd have liked to have been there for that. But anyway, he goes, he doesn't like to fly. So I would get this report. Bootsy just crossed the Maryland border. He's gonna take a nap, and he shows up. We cut it. He had dinner, and paid him. I got the most incredible audit that is possible to get the next day.
Oh, really?
The next year. Yep.
Holy crap.
That can't be related.
No. It's supposed to be random.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Well, I didn't play on that one. Next.
If I can ask another quick question. There was a South African artist whose name escapes me from who did a wonderful cover of the entire album of Remain in Life.
Oh yeah, Angela Kidjo.
Thank you, Kidjo. And,
She's good.
College radio stations are playing color. It's fantastic. But I'd like to know, what do you like?
I thought she did a great job. I've sat in with her a few times, and probably I think David has too. Not at the same time. And, well, I did it on the West Coast and he did it on the East Coast. But, you know, it's interesting to see which things they picked out, which things that they changed or didn't take from the record. You know, I thought that would have been cool, but in general, I think it was great.
She should do Red and Black next.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Do you guys have any pre-show rituals to keep you centered to make your show as awesome tonight as the Raleigh one was Wednesday?
We'll never top Raleigh.
I can't think of one, so I just go on stage.
This is it.
Two more questions, y'all. Two more.
So any interesting, Brian, anecdotes?
There's a million anecdotes, but you know, I mean, I think the most important thing to know about Brian is I think he opened the idea to all of us. I mean, Adrian, myself, but also the rest of the talking heads, of thinking of the studio as an extension of your instrument rather than as a way to capture what you were doing. It was part of the actual recording process. And he was always trying to shuffle the deck so that that the unexpected would happen. Sometimes by making you uncomfortable. So I mean, you had that story about the ways. When Adrian came in to do the Great Curve, they said, "Well, we haven't put down any vocals yet. When you feel like there might be a guitar solo, play one. After you finish that, if you want to come in again." And Adrian says, he looks at it, and Brian and David and I are jumping around, going, "Well, that went pretty well. I guess I'll do it again."
I waited around until I thought there was supposed to be a solo. There was no vocals or anything. Just kind of a da-da-da-da-da-da. I waited around and I jumped in, played a solo. I looked in the studio control room. They're all just going. I'm like, well, I think that worked out pretty well. I got another one on at the end, But I remember the first time I worked with Brian was in Lake Geneva, Switzerland with David Bowie. We did the Lodger record, which was, even though I'd done a record with Frank Zappa the year before, it was all live stuff that I played on the record. I never got to go in the studio with him to record. So it was actually my first real studio recording. And when I came to Lake Geneva, in the studio the first day, the control room was downstairs and above it was the room you recorded. And they had a one-way TV camera, so they could see in that room that you couldn't see them. So there's the three of them down there in the producer's seats, and they told me, just go upstairs and put your headphones on, and when you hear the count off, start playing. And I said, okay, play me the song. And they said, no, you don't get to listen to the song. Is this the way they make records? I don't think this is true, But and they said, just go and play. And I said, well, what key? And they said, no, we don't want you to know the key either. We just want to get your, responses. Like, oh, wow. So I go up and put and songs would go by, and I'd just still be trying to figure out anything to do, and they'd let me do it two times through, and then by the third time, I might actually know where the chorus is, so they didn't let me do it anymore. And that was a unique way of doing it. And then they take everything they liked, the accidental bits, put them together in what you call a composite, and that's how you hear DJ and all the guitar stuff and Boys Keep Swinging, Red Sails. You think all that stuff was done on the spot. It actually wasn't. It was me fishing around for things to do And the really hard part for me was then I went on tour with David and I had to learn what I had done. And I hated myself.
I had the great opportunity to catch your David Bowie act in San Francisco, or in San Jose last fall.
Yeah.
I happened to be out there for a family event.
Celebrating David Bowie.
Yeah, that was a great show, too.
Thank you. I enjoy that one too, but this is a little more fun. But I love all of it.
Can I do one more?
Yeah.
It's just kind of a different question, I guess, but I'm curious. I'm a guitar player and I am older.
Not older than me, baby.
But getting older. And I've struggled with a lot of pain in my hands. Play a little piano too, and it reaches harder and my fingers lock up. And I wonder if it makes me more and more aware of my age and limits in a way that I just never thought about and never thought would be a thing. Do you deal with that some, or are you both just so constant that everything is...
The one thing is a hand doctor just told me, keep doing it every day.
Yeah.
Don't give you all, and I can't say that I always follow his advice.
Right.
But it's easier to keep it than to get it back. So just try to
great advice.
So take the time to do it, even if it hurts. You will find that that the fact of doing it, like that, actually lubricates the joints and they get better. And, you can do exercises like this and things like this, and stretching and keeping your wrists loose, and
but playing mostly.
All that kind of stuff. And also, if you're bringing yourself back, I mean, Advil of course helps, but do 15 minutes and then take a little break, and do another 15 minutes, so that you don't want to get repetitive stress syndrome.
Right.
And push it, like don't try and come back all the way in, like by practicing for 4 hours straight, because you'll end up going backwards. So give yourself a break to see how you're feeling and do that. But you have the whole day you can do it.
That's awesome, thank you.
All right, I would add, I've abused my hands over the years. Like I hit the guitar and I've probably done everything to my hands. My hands are pretty used to being on my body now. And even recently, you're talking about the Celebrating David Bowie tour we did. The last one we did, the night it started, 2 hours before the show, I had bought these new red sparkle shoes. You'll see them tonight. I wear them on. And they were so tight, I was sticking my finger in to try to get my foot in. It wouldn't go in, and I pulled my finger all the way back. I know it sounds painful, it was. And it's never really been the same. So, but I'm still playing. I mean, I just work around it. I taught myself to use this finger more.
Right.
And I had to play 2 hours later, so. And nobody ever said, hey, Adrian, you don't sound like yourself.
Right.
Or you don't seem like you're playing as fast or whatever. I just go, well, it's something that happens, I feel like, when you get on stage, especially maybe you're not playing in front of, a lot of people, I don't know, but you're playing in an audience that loves what you're doing. It's a strange thing that happens. I could be deathly ill. I have been many times. And I walk on stage and immediately there's this incredible energy that comes right into me. I feel it. And it's like, and I'll go through the show and it'll go by like that. And then I'll go back to the dressing room and fall over in a heap, There's something about that too.
Yeah.
There's an energy, the adrenaline, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking while you were talking.
Yeah, but I think Jerry's advice is best. There's a lot of stuff you could do,
That
but
is really
basically, try not to stop. I do stuff
That's
a
part
lot,
of my problem.
so I don't really stop.
Yeah.
Do you have Dupuytren syndrome at all?
Say again?
Do you know what Dupuytren syndrome is?
Yes.
Yeah. So it comes from, I've had that, and I actually had a loosening of it's like trigger finger.
Yes, where you can't.
And there are different methods of sort of loosening the band that goes around the tendons there, which will help that.
Because I have that in spades.
Well, you should see a really quality hand doctor.
Okay.
Where are we here?
Thank you.
In Quaaludes.
Actually, there's someone in Dayton, Ohio named Thomas Graham, who's a very good hand doctor.
Okay.
At Kettering Institute.
Okay.
See, I've learned a lot just being with Jerry on this tour. He's become my personal physician now. I see him every Thursday at 5 o'clock. I mean, really, Jerry knows so much about medicine. I can't believe this guy. He's amazing. Tells me all these stuff. It's great.
So anyway.
Yeah.
So Thomas Graham.
Thomas Graham.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we'll just have everybody start right here, and let's make a line all the way back there. Single file, starting here, going that way.
This guy right here has been in line since 1 o'clock.